We've got two presentations coming up. I think everybody in the room is probably well aware of the I-40 Hernando DeSoto Bridge issue that came up earlier this year, so really looking forward to having the opportunity to hear a couple of presentations on this. I'm going to introduce the next two speakers because I think we'll have Steve from the Arkansas DOT rolling right into Aaron with Michael Baker, so we'll let them do their thing. We heard from Steve yesterday. But to reiterate, he's the Arkansas DOT Assistant Chief Engineer for Operations. He oversees construction, maintenance, and material activities for the Arkansas DOT. He began full-time with the department in 1997 as a field engineer and was involved with the majority of the engineering oversight for construction of new Interstate 49 from Louisiana to Texarkana. He has served in various roles in operations, including district engineer in Southwest Arkansas and division head for Transportation Planning and Policy Division prior to being appointed to his current position. After Steve, we'll roll into Aaron Stover. He is with Michael Baker. He's regional bridge lead with Michael Baker International. He joined them in their Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania office in 1999 as a structural engineer. He has been involved with design, repair, and rehab of several long-span bridges over the Ohio River, including the Louisville Ohio River Bridge project and Sherman-Minton emergency repair. He served as the design project manager and engineer of record for the emergency repairs to the Hernando DeSoto Bridge, leading a team comprised of more than 60 experts from across the country. He received his Bachelor's of Science and Master's of Science in Civil Engineering from the University of Illinois. So let's welcome Steve and Aaron.
The fracture of the I-40 bridge is a story that I'm sure piqued your interest, and I'm looking forward to telling the story from my perspective. This has been an event that I'll not soon forget and likely get to tell many times. It presented us with many challenges, and it showed us how things can work out successfully when teamwork and true collaboration take over. So to bring everyone up to date, as you know, on May 11th of this year, a fracture was discovered in one of the tie girders by our consultant inspection team, Michael Baker International. They were inspecting the truss and the cable portions of the tied arch spans of this bridge and found this fracture. The bridge was immediately closed to traffic. The I-55 River Bridge, which we call the Old Bridge there in West Memphis, would be forced to carry the load of both interstates, a combined average daily traffic of about 87,000 vehicles with just 4 lanes of travel. So we go from 10 lanes of travel down to 4 lanes. Although ARDOT and TDOT don't have the authority to close river traffic, the Coast Guard closed barge traffic due to the level of risk and concern over the integrity of the bridge. As expected, barge traffic quickly backed up, including hundreds of barges with important cargo and fuel. I never thought I'd be dealing with a barge queue. I'm used to traffic queues, but now we got barge queues, and so that was pretty crazy. We quickly scheduled a press conference and let the public know what had occurred and what we were doing to perform investigations into the fracture. ARDOT also immediately began another inspection of the I-55 bridge, the old bridge, to ensure it was safe for traffic. And within hours, on May 11th, we began forming a team of experts with FHWA, ARDOT, TDOT, our consultants, HNTB, and Michael Baker, and this team began assessing the damage. In fact, it was a Tuesday, about 2 o'clock, we got the call from Mike about this, and by the next morning at daylight, of course, Michael Baker teams were already there because they found the fracture, but I know Mike and Stuart were there before daylight. HNTB was called in, flew in overnight, and they were there at daylight the next morning to get this assessment started. A major key for ARDOT was to be transparent up front, to get information out and let the public know what was happening. So during the course of our investigation early on, we did find evidence of the bridge fracture from 2019 drone footage. We began investigating the cause of the apparent oversight of the fracture because we had inspected it since the time of this footage. So our investigation initially determined that the bridge inspector who conducted the inspection in 2019 and 2020 did fail to carry out their responsibilities correctly, and the employee was terminated. We know this employee did not inspect this bridge as he was trained to do, but we also have to accept the fact that we've got to make improvements in our process. This incident, however, is not representative of our bridge inspection program. Just in the few months that I've been in my current role, I'm sure not an expert in statewide heavy bridge but I've known Mike and Stewart a long time, but I've got to know Andy Nanaman and Kevin Weston, who's, I believe, here today, and getting to see what these younger guys are doing and the technologies, to see the statewide repair teams, as I'm sure all you DOTs and consultants have seen, the amazing stuff that these teams that Stewart lead, what they do every day. When Brad Smithy, I think, is here in our District 10, and unfortunately he's dealing with a lot of bridges almost on a weekly basis, having to close bridges, call in a team, take care of these things, whether it be heat straightening, whether it be pin repairs or complete deck replacements, and get that bridge back open in days. It's just amazing what they do. But again, back to the bridge inspection teams, one of my closest friends at ARDOT, he retired about a week ago after 30-something years, but he was a bridge inspector for the majority of his career. And he was one of the persons instrumental in training me when I started in the field, and he taught me how to read plans. He showed me what I was doing wrong, where we formed things up wrong, and he served us faithfully as a bridge inspector for many years, and then went on to lead several maintenance teams. And he's representative of what I know we have many bridge inspectors in the state that are amazing. So we know we have a strong program, but again, we have to realize that when we have a weakness, a failure in the program, we've got to make improvements. So we have started and continue to refine our processes. We're going to be adding additional checks and balances and redundancies to ensure this oversight does not occur again. As part of the investigation into our program, the following entities have been involved. The U.S. Department of Inspector General has assigned a special agent to investigate. That investigation is ongoing. The FHWA began a comprehensive assessment of ARDOT's bridge inspection program to ensure the appropriate policies, trained staff are all in place, and to meet this responsibility. We do welcome this assessment, and we are going to move forward to make sure that this oversight never happens again. The final FHWA report is expected next week. We've worked with them on a final draft, and this report is going to help guide ARDOT's bridge inspection program into the future. ARDOT's also solicited letters of interest from consultants to help review our program as well. We're going to utilize their expertise to strengthen the program and incorporate the upcoming FHWA recommendations. Also, we retained Wisjani Elsner Associates to perform a forensic investigation of the fracture. I mean, that's a 2-hour presentation in itself. It's just amazing. We've gotten the report through Michael Baker. It's expected to be released next week as part of ARDOT's final after-action report. So next week will be a busy one for some reports for us. So again, in addition to the inspection, of course, we had to focus on keeping traffic moving, repair the bridge, get it open to traffic safely, and we knew immediately that the bridge had to be stabilized, as the initial models were pretty scary to say the least. Within 72 hours of getting this team together, a repair design was developed to provide additional stability to the fractured member, as well as a permanent repair. Steel plating materials were identified and proposals were sent out to prospective contractors. And so our shared agreement with TDOT is we inspect the bridge, share the cost. They handle major maintenance and rehab. We share the cost. And so the good thing about the partnership with TDOT is as soon as we found this, it was on a Tuesday. Again, teams were there the next morning. We get the team put together. They're designing. By Friday afternoon, TDOT's got a proposal out to a contractor, did emergency procurement through the weekend, and by Monday, May 17th, TDOT selected Kiewit as the contractor to perform the repairs. They immediately mobilized crews and equipment to the site while steel plating was being fabricated. Kiewit worked 24 hours a day through the week, installing platforms, and then through the next weekend, drilling and bolting hundreds of holes on the outside and back plates, all to get this phase 1 repair to ensure the stability of the bridge. The phase 1 repair was completed on May 25th, providing that additional confidence that the bridge was stable. So Kiewit Construction, when they were brought on in the design process, what was neat is they worked closely with the DOTs, with our consultants, and Kiewit's perspective from a constructability standpoint was a key factor. And anybody, the resident engineers and the guys that have worked as field engineers know that having that constructability standpoint is always very important, and it just makes everything go better. And so it was just neat to see the contractor and the consultant working together. side by side and coming up and tweaking final designs very quickly to provide the fastest and safest repair. So sitting from my vantage point, that was just amazing to see. They worked as one team, they put pride to the side, and they accomplished the task. This attached image shows the phase 2 plating. Orange and blue there's the plating over the old tire girder, the post-tensioning system that was used to reduce the load and engage the new plates compositely. So the structural engineering, the design, the execution of this phase 1, and then moving on to phase 2 repairs, and then we actually got into a phase 3. This is all very intriguing stuff. Therefore, I'm going to leave the nuts and the bolts, pun intended, to Mr. Aaron Stover with Michael Baker to further explain that amazing feat in the next presentation. But before I do, I just want to explain a few more things. So while the repairs were going on, of course, we still had the rest of a bridge to inspect. And so we got to, once phase 1 was complete and the bridge was stabilized, it allowed us to begin re-inspecting the remainder of the bridge. ARDOT teams completed inspections of the remaining bridge outside the tied arch spans, while H&TB teams performed inspection of the deck down, and Michael Baker teams were completing their inspection of the trusses and cables. ARDOT also provided one of our Aspen aerial snooper underbridge inspection units to accelerate the work while other teams access the bridge by ropes. And you can see in the picture there in the back corner the Aspen there. And so I don't know, it may not be a record, but this may have been the most inspectors on one bridge at one time. And we had people from all over the country hanging all over this bridge, including a majority of our staff. Because again, it's not just these two arch spans, which is a huge amount, but we got 2 miles of bridge outside of that, and we wanted to do a thorough inspection to make sure everything was in good shape. While there was much attention getting the I-40 bridge re-inspected and repaired, we also had to focus on maintaining traffic flow across this 55 bridge. Traffic backups of 5 miles plus in each direction on I-40 and I-55 occurred on most days and continued throughout the peak daytime hours. Trips across the river were experiencing average delays of 1 hour. With any crashes or stalled vehicles, we had multi-hour delays. This would cause drivers to attempt to divert through town, causing further problems for local highways and streets. I think they were doing the math that it was $2 million plus a day in road user costs just for the trucking industry alone, not to mention the impacts to the national and local economy. It was pretty rough. I know the ARDOT district forces worked quickly to add motorist assistance patrol vehicles, assist stranded motorists, clear stalled vehicles. Highway police units were working tirelessly to protect the queue with blue lights. And I know a couple of our guys here, Matt Emberton and Jeff Adams, they live this daily in West Memphis and had to deal with this traffic, and it was pretty brutal. So we knew we had to do something because we knew this was not a repair that was just going to last a week or two. So to improve the traffic flow, our engineering staff worked hard. They brainstormed, analyzing options for improving the bottlenecks, reducing merging conflict points, sharing and listening to TDOT partners on our daily calls. So, of course, when things like this happen, engineers come out of the woodwork telling you how you should be handling traffic. And they were everywhere. And then internally, we were cussing and discussing and trying to figure out the best option. And so it's pretty challenging. For West Memphis area, you've got 2 lanes of I-40 coming in with 40+ thousand vehicles a day, 2 lanes of 55 coming in, and at that west split there, they merge into 3 lanes. They switch sides. You've got about 2.5 miles of 3 lane, and then I-40 shut down, so now we've got to get them to 2 lanes across the 55 bridge. And then what made matters worse is right on the Memphis side here at the Crump interchange, that's been there for a long time. It's been a choke point. I-55 next down to 1 lane, a 1-lane ramp to go south, and if you don't get on that ramp, you're thrusted right into the heart of Memphis, and it's complete gridlock. And so, again, we're taking 10 lanes of traffic down to 1 lane. You can do the math all day long. That just doesn't work. 90,000 vehicles. It was pretty rough. And so we knew we had to make improvements. We had emergency services where people couldn't get to the emergency room. You have an incident, heart attack, whatever it may be, and you need to get over to Memphis to the med for some emergency action, and you can't get there. Of course, med flights can only work so often, and with cities this large, we were shipping people an hour away up to Jonesboro, and it was getting pretty serious. As our engineers got together, the challenge was we were having the on and off ramp choke points, and we did something a little bit outside of the box where, as you can see up here, we had 3 lanes in the middle, and you would think, well, we don't want to reduce any capacity, but we actually did that very thing. So we shut down 40 to 1 lane before the west split. We shut 55 down to 1 lane before the split. When we brought them in together, instead of merging them and all that ramp action with everybody in town, we actually separated the 2 lanes, closed the middle lane. It did take away some capacity, but it kept things flowing, and then we brought them into 2 lanes and across the river. And so we weren't really sure this would work, and the pressure was really high. At the same time, you've got TDOT there with that 1 lane crump interchange. We knew that was one of the key players. And so TDOT had been working on moving utilities, widening drainage structures. Again, this wasn't a construction job. This was maintenance forces just in emergency action mode, widening out, and they were able to get a 2nd lane put in there and paved so that we could at least get that 2 lanes on I-55. So the good thing is we get our traffic pattern changes implemented on the Arkansas side. The bad news is the day we introduced the new traffic changes, TDOT's in the middle of the road paving. And again, it's not their fault. They had to get this done, but that was the worst day we saw yet. So traffic turned into just a parking lot. And of course, all of those engineers that come out of the woodwork said, we're idiots, we don't know what we're doing. The director's getting pressure. I think she said that was one of the worst days she had as director. Of course, the pressure's a little high on me and my buddies over in District 1, like, what in the world are you thinking? But we were still confident that we'd made the right decision. Our traffic changes were based on solid engineering judgment, and we knew they would work. So we were trying to explain that, hey, give it a chance. Let's let TDOT get out of the way, and let's see if our changes worked. And so there was a lot of confidence that the director had to instill in us to not pull the plug on this, and we were very close. I'm proud to say that it did work. We saw much improved traffic flow with these changes. So this chart is from the TDOT SmartWay system. They've got traffic sensors and data collectors throughout Memphis and West Memphis. And you can see the green line at the bottom is the normal travel time. It's about a 7-mile trip from the west split to across the river. Takes about 7 minutes normally, and again, we're experiencing a 7-minute trip was taking 1 hour to 5 hours, and just snarling everything up. And so our changes were made here about Wednesday night. So Thursday the 10th, we saw, again, one of the worst days yet. And actually these traffic delays, that peaks out about 70, 80 minutes, but really that's just to a certain sensor. And so when the delays go back 5 miles, it doesn't even pick up on the chart. So we were seeing outrageous delays. But once TDOT got their work done, that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Actually, we let them take off a little bit Friday early, and the peak hours weren't bad. Monday morning is when we really got to reveal, hey, here's what our changes are. And the travel times, again, this was a miracle, about like the bridge. They went from about an hour delay to the 10 minutes. It was like 3 minutes longer. And we're thinking, how in the world are we getting 10 lanes of traffic now down to 2 and it's flowing? But it worked. Of course, we were cautiously optimistic. That was just 2 days in, and Monday and Tuesdays are light days. You may not see all this, but this was kind of the bigger picture data after a long term. So the left side is the travel delays back from May 11th, peaking and really should have been going off the chart. And what I highlighted is when our changes were implemented, and it just almost drops to nothing. Now you see a few peaks in there. Those were your typical accidents, stalled vehicles that are going to happen regardless. But the difference is they peak and they go away. And so these aren't all day long delays. They happen and they go away. And then we had 4th of July weekend in there, heavy travel time. But it was just an amazing change and improvement. And then you got throughput. So this bottom chart is actually showing throughput. So you've got 87,000 vehicles a day plus, of course, with 5-hour delays, trucks and vehicles are going to reroute. They were going to Caruthersville, they were going to Helena, they were going to Greenville. They were finding any way around, and so the traffic volumes had dropped here in the 60,000 range. So 20+ thousand vehicles were finding a way around and costing a lot of money. Once our changes were implemented, the beauty of it is, okay, now there's no congestion. Well, now 20-something thousand vehicles are all coming back into this. And so, but it still worked. And once our changes were made, you could kind of see the peaks climbing, and we got back up over 80,000 vehicles. In fact, on July 1st there, we peaked out almost at full capacity, even had a little bit of delay, but the throughput was a record throughput. So it was just amazing what happened there. But even what was more amazing was reopening this bridge. So on July 29th, we did some load testing, got that completed. Crews removed platforms, demobilized, and we were opened eastbound lanes on July 31st, westbound on August 2nd, about an 83-day closure. So I have to say again, the key component of success was the constant communication and teamwork with TDOT, FHWA, our consultants, our contractors, the teams in the field as they communicated here, as you see in the screen, in traditional ways, working off the tailgate and the toolboxes. The benefit of COVID, as you all know, was the remote work and the comfort level that we all had doing that. And so after coming off a year of remote work, the rest of us, as Eric said, what do you say, 60 people just on his team. And that's just one of them from around the nation daily. I was on calls with these guys 3 times a day, but I could do it from my office, get out in the field some, but it couldn't be done without that support staff. And so everybody could work from their home, from their office, join in on those daily meetings and make everything happen. And so I don't know really what we would have done without those web conferencing capabilities and the comfort level we had in that. I think this quote sums it up. If everyone's moving forward together, then success takes care of itself, from Henry Ford. And that was certainly the case with the I-40 bridge. So that concludes my portion of the presentation. Stay tuned for part 2. This is the really interesting engineering part, those nitty-gritty details that I can't give, and I'm gonna let Aaron do that, and then if y'all have got questions, we'll hold those to the end. Appreciate it.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.